Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. That's right, I homeschool. I'm Mrs. T, and today we have a book outlet haul, homeschool edition. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So I will be putting on the screen in one corner what the book outlet price is, and in the other what it currently retails at. I'll just do Amazon because it's a lot easier to do it that way. And then at the very end, we'll show you what the total price is and the total savings. I will not be putting any tax information in there simply because I don't want to add that kind of complexity nor give away any information regarding where I might be living.
Hello, editing Mrs. T here. I realize some of these books aren't actually on Amazon, so I'm going to go ahead and list the price that's on the back of the book or the inside cover.
Let's go ahead and hop right into it. The very first book that I have here is Un, deux, trois. This is a young children's picture book filled with French rhymes, and it has some really pretty kind of classic, I would say, vintage style illustrations, and it does come with a CD of, it's basically an audiobook that reads through these French rhymes, and I'm really excited about that one. We have The Seasons of Arnold's Apple Tree. We've actually already read this a few times. It's classic Gail Gibbons. You guys know the illustration style. It's filled with facts, it's filled with color, and you can't go wrong. We'll be definitely reading that one quite a lot this year. The next one here is The King of Kindergarten. This one is a hardcover book that I'm not sure if we'll actually read it this year or not, but it is one of the books that's recommended in our Layers of Learning book. So I know we'll be getting to it multiple times as we go through the Layers of Learning program by Joellen McCarthy, which I have a video coming out on that one here pretty soon. All right, I got two book sets here of like box sets, which I'm gonna, you know what, I feel like it's a game. Every time I say I'm excited, I feel like I need to lose a point or something. But anyway, we have the Horrible Geography box set. It comes with 10 books, which is meant for higher grade level than pre-K, but I got these so I can start pre-reading them and to kind of get an idea of the content, and so that way I can see how I'm going to implement them and when would be a good time to cover these different topics. The other one that we have here is from DK. This is DK Life Stories, The Inspirational People. And these are chapter books of really, really high quality. Let me pull one of these out so you can see. So they are meant for older readers. They are bright, they are colorful, they are filled with photographs, if that is applicable to the person it's talking about. And it is just breathtaking. They come with bookmarks as well that correspond to each person talked about, as well as a poster. And we're not going to be covering all of these people this upcoming year, but I know for sure we're going to be talking about Jane Goodall and Helen Keller and a couple of people that are also in here. So that way we can start talking about some of these amazing historical people and the wonderful things that they've done. So this particular set covers Helen Keller, Anne Frank, Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, Florence Nightingale, Gandhi, Katherine Johnson, Alexander Hamilton, Jane Goodall, and Nelson Mandela. So you can see we will have a good exposure to a number of wonderful people. All right, we got our very first encyclopedia. This is DK's Children's Encyclopedia. And good old classic DK fashion, this particular thing is filled with really beautiful, pictures and a lot of information. It also ties to different kinds of topics, so it's a good reference book for your child to start kind of going down the rabbit hole of learning, which is really exciting. So how I envision us using this is every week as I'm going through my planning stuff, I'm going to see if there's something that we can research in here that we are talking about and allow my child to kind of go down that rabbit hole with me. So we can kind of start working on how reference books work, how we are going to use them, and enjoy this beautiful resource. Okay, we got the Curious About Phonics, Curious George book set. This is 12 books of very small size, meant to be as part of a learning phonics program. So you can see they're very thin. They're a little reminiscent of like Bob books in regards to like the thickness, but that's kind of where the comparison stops. These books are meant to be early phonics readers, but I will say they're more advanced than something like the Bob books. So we will be adding them, but mostly I think we will add them once we have a little bit of reading underneath our belt. This is not going to be supporting us as we go through that reading journey from day one. But speaking of Curious George, you guys, my kids love Curious George. We have a number of their books at home. We get them from the library. So I was really excited when I found that there were some Curious George workbooks available on Book Outlet. So we have the pre-K math and pre-K reading. They're both pretty thin, and those are pretty typical, like workbook style. Very reminiscent of something you'd pick up from like Brain Quest or DK or Kumon, any of those 10,000 workbooks, like those traditional workbooks out there. We also got the kindergarten math and kindergarten reading, so we won't be ready for these quite yet, but I don't know. We'll get there one day. Now, the Curious George workbooks that I'm most excited about are these Adventures in Learning. So this is the pre-K one, and it is a lot thicker than the other ones I just held up. And these are really unique, actually. They come with a Curious George story where you talk about a particular thing. So for example, I know in the kindergarten one, which I also got here, we have this one. He talks about bikes, and there's a story about Curious George using a bike and blah blah blah. But after that, there are some age-appropriate reading comprehension activities and things that you can do like traditional workbook style, but they relate to the actual story. So maybe instead of just writing down number recognition and just counting random things, you're counting things that were embedded in that story and are part of that story. I'll be doing an in-depth flip through of these because those are pretty cool looking. All right, we also got Adventures with Zap. This is 107 creative prompts for beginning readers and writers, and this is for ages 4 and up. So the way that we are going to use it is they have these big spaces. I'm going to allow my child to listen to the prompt and draw his response, and then verbally tell me his response to these different fun prompts, which I will then record and write in here as well. So we can start that creative storytelling skill without waiting for that writing skill to catch up. He's only in pre-K. His pencil control is only so much. So I'd rather him be able to spew that story to me, and I'll record it for him at this point in time. All right, going outdoors, as you guys know, is a huge part of our family and our curriculum. And one of the things that I ended up buying, which will be with us for a couple of years, many years, is this National Parks Journal. One of our goals is to visit the national parks in the US, and there are a lot, first of all, so we know we won't get to all of them during our school time, but we want to make it an educational sort of adventure. And this book helps you plan and record what you've learned at each national park, which I thought was pretty cool. So we can kind of use this as a family record keeping device. Now, also related to outdoors, we wanted to start trying to have our kids, we cook our lunches inside usually, but I wanted to move some of that outdoors. So I got this really cool Outdoor Cooking with Betty. This is a vintage style cookbook with very classic interior, first of all, but classic easy recipes that are typically used with camping. So you're not using like a bunch of different materials. It's usually like things that are pretty simple. And we are going to start trying to use that occasionally while we do our lunches rather than always eating indoors. All right, we got 2 different workbooks here from Nature Smarts. We have the ages 4 to 6 workbook, and we got the 7 to 9 workbook. And these, you guys, are really cool. These are more so science-based than typical workbooks in the sense of like, let me rephrase that. They're science-based, but they're science focusing on nature. So you're going to be covering things like it says, learn about wildlife, geology, earth science, habitats, animals, soil, insects, birds, plants, and more. So they are traditional workbooks, I will go ahead and share this in a future flip through, but they are definitely more nature based, which I think will be, again, a good fit for us. Okay, last few. If you have seen our curriculum video, you'll know that we are reading the Usborne Time Traveler book as a family and kind of tackling history like a story. And we're focusing on exposing a couple of periods in time to my preschooler through creative ways. So being a little bit mindful to bring in different books about that. And I found some things that support some of the topics we're covering. All right, so we're learning about knights and castles, and I did find the Magic Treehouse graphic novel for The Night at Dawn. So we have actually already read the original book here, but this one I think will be a huge hit with my preschooler. It's a graphic novel. There's so many different things to look at, and we'll be able to read them through. I think that would be really, really fun. Plus it gives me a lot of practice with doing my different character voices to get the story moving. Okay, we also have the Amazing Things for Knights to Make and Do. This is a pretty small workbook, but the idea here is your child is the knight and you're doing things like making a coat of arms, you're making a 3D castle at the very end, you have a royal decree that you're making. So it shows you how to make a royal decree, and they're just these really small, simple activities that you can do with your kid about knights and castles and medieval times. All right, the next one here is the Penguin Historical Atlas of the Vikings. We'll be covering the Vikings. Now this book is like an adult book. It is filled with a lot of information, but I actually was really interested in the maps that are in here and some of the pictures. So what I'm going to start doing is pre-reading this reference book and bookmarking some of the things that I think will be really handy for my preschooler to see. Mostly, I think they're going to be like the photos that we're looking at, because it is chock filled with different photos and drawings. A little bit more age appropriate, we have My First Fact File of the Vikings, and this is kind of similar to that night book. It is filled with different activities, but this one has more information. So here we're talking about food and feasts. I think we're going to be working front to back in this, and then doing different things that correspond. So in this case, you have an activity down here. You're making a Viking snack, which we will definitely be doing. And then it shows kind of what Vikings might have eaten at that time. Last book. Whew! This one, when I got it, I thought it would be a little bit more age appropriate for preschool. It is not. It is the 1,500 Sticker Fun History book. While I think my kid would love it, there are definitely some more violent things in here than I would want my preschooler to focus on at this point in time. So that one will probably hold off, but it has a lot of corresponding topics that go between the Usborne Time Traveler and this book. You cover the Egyptians and Vikings, you cover knights, like you cover everything that's in that book. So I think what we will do is hold that off because we intend on circling back to those topics when he's older. But whew, that was it, you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and put on the screen now. This is how much I paid for this whole book outlet haul. This is how much it would have cost if I bought them at full price through Amazon. So this is how much I saved. I'm really excited. Stay tuned. In a couple of months, I will be giving you guys an update specifically about this haul, what we've used, what we like, what we don't like, and how that's going. So stick around and I will talk to you very soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.